Okay, so it's late of a night, and I'm inside the house. So even though I'm physically uncomfortable, I am just for no reason except that I just occurred to me to to having a lot of problems, but just occurred to me to while I think of it, I haven't looked at my old memories or old photos. In the old normal days, you had photos in your hand and you took them. In more recent times, only due to being shown this, and this was the whole reason that I'm showing this here on the TV. These are the only photos, or not the only photos, because I do have like this type of thing, like the baby photos, but I'll show that later. Maybe I will just turn the light on, and because I have to turn the other light on, because otherwise I notice that the photos don't come out, so and also it's better because I'm not getting the shadow, but like old photos of one and only, but things are what you think in your mind, and we all distort the past and fantasize it, or try to ignore, mostly in my case, that which you don't want to think of, because it not only makes you realize what loss you caused or what you've been part of, but also what you yourself have lost, because you don't have real memories. You only have photos, and the rest is blank. And I don't know why a plane is going over as I say that, because the plane should be finished by now. It is very late of a night, which is a good time to make, or turn the mobile on, because there's not going to be any interruptions, apart from the confusion of my own mind, more or less, because we get things, just because it's late of a night, and the stress of what happens, all through the day, or with the Matrix ones and their systematic control that takes place around you every day, is quiet, because it's so late and because I'm inside the house. doesn't mean that the stress from that, or what they call the trauma, just as the trauma bonding that takes place with people over your life, and even those that you should have cared for. But trauma bonding takes place with everything, really, not just with, the most important people in your life, but also with, what's around you. That's the whole purpose of this military operation that is staged around me daily. And no doubt this is also happens around anyone else that is a real person and not a part of it. You're either a part of it or the program is set up around you because they must have control. Just as a lot of human beings turn a little bit what we call psychopathically narcissistic, where the world revolves around them so much totally that nothing or no one else exists. In other words, nothing else apart from their survival machine mentality exists. Little do they realise, of course, well, many of them do realise it because they may be part of it, they may agree with it, or they could be isolated individual ones that possibly are operating solely on their own and tend to be oblivious, because if you do live like I have and like many of us do live in your own isolated fantasy world where you think the world around you is a lot more innocent and benign than what it actually is. You don't know that there's a total control system operating around you, to control you, and a plane is coming over as I say that. Or some noise is coming over anyway. Doesn't matter. But that's I just picked that up. That was left outside the supermarket many a month ago now, and it's obviously been much loved or much played with, as they say, and it was just left there at midnight when they used to be open till midnight. Hopefully they'll go back to it because it is there's less patrollers and stalking customers in there when it's really late. They have to make it look real. Mind you, there is an exorbitant amount of staff in there, playing around packing the shelves and things than what they're used to at that late time. Mind you, I will say this, that back like 20 odd years ago, I was actually friendly with a few of the staff when I go in there and have a little chat. And this is my point, they ease out any real human beings, because those employees that were friendly towards me have long since gone. And I did notice that too. But of course, until the matrix and its controlling force around you exposes itself, you just think, oh well, I suppose there's circumstances why they might have went to another store or another suburb or something, but they ease them out so that you don't have any, even at a superficial acquaintance level where you might have just the odd chat when you go into the supermarket late of a night. and they're bored because there's no one else around, and they'll talk to you. It made things a little uncomfortable, especially for someone like myself, even years ago, because you know, if you don't have, you don't have a lot of what you call genuine acquaintances, where you have a conversation with someone and you don't feel that they've got problems themselves. In other words, they've got problems in their life, but you don't feel that they want to make your problems theirs. They're not like most of those that are around in my neighbourhood, where if you do speak to them, you always feel uncomfortable and agitated and even sometimes angry after you've spoke to them, because they're negative, artificial android beings pretending. Whereas if you speak to like a normal human being, that's why I say the ones that they've eased out of this area over time, you don't feel like that. You feel just okay. You may not feel on top of the world, but you don't feel bad about it. You don't feel bad, even though you can't always pinpoint what it is that was said. Most of the time you can pinpoint, despite an apparently friendly conversation, their psychopathic, narcissistic kind of nature will drop some little comment that is derogatory to you in some way, so that they're showing you in a little way what they really think of you, even though you don't always fully understand it at the time. I certainly didn't. Only when you realise how really controlling and destructive these people can be when you see their combined effort with the military base that's around me. That's when you realise how much you underestimated them and the whole situation. But of course, why wouldn't you? You thought you were in a real random natural world. The plane just went over as I said that, because that means it's acknowledgement. Why is a plane going over a noise outside at this late time? But at any rate, I think that frog is actually in very good condition. And of course, I'm the stupid frog that often gives the ride to the scorpion to the other side of the bank. You know, the innocent frog that eventually feels sorry for the scorpion, that even though he knows that a scorpion can sting you and kill you, and usually does, because as the scorpion said after the frog had relented and felt sorry for the scorpion, said, "Okay, I will take you to the other side of the river bank, jump on my back. What harm could you really do me? Because if you sting me, you know, it's not really in your interest because I've helped you, and also it may harm you." But the scorpion, after the frog took him to the other side, did sting the frog. I think in the fable, it might have even been before they got to the other side. But, you know, as the frog is being stung, he says to the scorpion, why are you doing this? Makes no sense to me." And the scorpion said, "It's in my nature. I can't help it. I have to." And that's like the artificial, psychopathic types of android beings that are all around. It's in their nature. They can't help it. They enjoy it just too much. It's like a plane is coming over as I'm saying this. Cannot believe that. That they just enjoy being destructive to real life too much. It's just like, it's what comes natural. They can't resist it. And they don't know how to do any different. It's like I suppose it's a bit like different animals, like we have bunnies here. We have bunnies, a younger bunny, a newer bunny, a very old bunny, or one that's been very played with. Hopefully, you know, and I've lost my train of thought because the frog, trying not to get the shadow on it. I don't know why I picked that up. You know, sometimes you just pick things up and you don't know why. You might have thought it was collectible. That was left for me when my relative departed. And I don't know why everything always has to end up where there's departure and loss. It's like circumstances and the nature of us. We just defeat ourselves. We make the wrong decisions over and over again. But, you know, to try to explain it, if you're not like able to see both sides of things, as the many that are around don't, as we know, it's like a one-sided looking at everything, or a one-eyed view of everything, like the artificial controlling God entity of this reality that only sees everything one-eyed. And once you do that, every relationship, every time you have a loss with someone, you don't see that it takes two to tango, as they say, that there's two sides to every story, that, you know, most of the people around that are not either human, plain going over as I was saying that, not either real humans. I should show those planes, I'm sure they're out there. Not real humans, or so driven away from their true human nature into, you know, what we call some sort of psychosis, which is very similar to being psychopathic and narcissistic in your whole person. In other words, that's what drives you. Real humans have personality traits, but it doesn't drive them 100%. It's probably the only difference, whereas the one-eyed God of this reality, or this earth, only looks at things from a totally one-eyed, one stance, one view, one way of looking at everything, and that only completely relates to how they want it, to how they want to control the reality, how they want their version of a perfect, controlled, artificial, human suppressed reality. And that's essentially how most of its disciples or relatives, and both really probably, view it, and how they act in their reality. But it's also how human beings, if you've become very estranged from your own kind, and that means you separated from your own kind, you have no feelings towards any real life or your own type, which is psychopathic in nature, you're really adopting that same kind of view as the God entity, where it's like nothing else matters except you. And when you have relationships, you're really not having a communication between two real people. You are just basically using the other person as a kind of doll, like that, but a living doll, and like not really seeing the person or caring to understand why things have failed, or why there's been a loss. And of course, that's what I'm trying to say. it's acceptance of what really has happened, but each person sees life from their own point of view. I personally am not making any excuses. You know, you can always shift responsibility to, your parents or to circumstances and the difficult personalities you're dealing with. And while this may even be true, the plane is coming over as I say that. You still have to I have to face the reality that I still made my choices and that I was part of that, because that's like the psychopathic types of people or even the androids. They think they play no part in any relationship or what happens. If they have a relationship and someone walks away, or if that person walks away from them because it becomes too one-eyed and one-sided to where the person feels as though they're going to die literally, which is exactly how the psychopathic narcissist feels, evidently, is what I've told, that they view everything as a threat to their survival, because essentially we're all living in the past. We're living back in childhood where we were threatened and we did feel vulnerable, and where we did have to put up defences and protect ourselves from the reality that we were, or that you were, completely left with no protection at all and no support and no one or nothing to really rely on. Because if you don't feel that there's anyone there that really cares, and if you know that they have shown that they don't really respect or care about you by the hurtful things they might say or by the neglect, that's quite real. And it's so too. But it's not the present, that's all I can say. You know, the past can't be forgotten, but if you live in it daily, reacting only to past, what they call past pain and trauma, then you're losing your present and you're losing the opportunity to rectify all that pain from the past so that you can be whole again, I guess, or be as you originally were meant to be, or how you originally were. In other words, just to be accepted and valued for yourself, to realise how special you really are, just as you really are, rather than all the pretending and all the false defences that served a purpose. It's a bit like this. I would put it this way, and I'm sure that I've heard this before. It'd be a bit like if it'd be a bit like if I was in certain circumstances right now, and my life depended on me putting up an image or confronting someone and pretending to be a real tough guy. But in the moment, because I know that my life depends on it, it's worth me acting out something totally different, or even doing something that I normally would be frightened to do, because in this particular life-threatening situation, my life depends on being different to what I normally feel under normal, more peaceful circumstances. It would be appropriate for me to do that, to defend myself, to save my life. But it wouldn't be appropriate for me to be doing it like right now, you know, when you're old, 50 years later, still acting out that same tough guy image against people that are not trying to take your life. Or even though, in my case, that is literally true now, but it wasn't true It wasn't true in quite the extreme circumstances when I was young, but what I'm saying is this doesn't apply to me. I'm applying it to those that that have been in my life, you see, because I don't think that I act out now the past quite as much as what I see other people doing. I'm not like the scorpion where I sting the frog just because it's been ingrained in me and become part of my nature over a lifetime. I'm going to deal with each circumstance, and this is what people should do. This is what we're all meant to do, is deal with each person and each circumstances according to what's really happening and according to their merit, rather than saying, oh, all human beings are negative, they're all a threat to me. That's what the androids do, and that's what even some psychopathically narcissistic followers of the God entity, or even if you don't believe in that, but your nature has become that way, you become controlled by that. It might seem like inappropriate in a difficult world to do that. And that is actually the reality anyway. But you shouldn't be doing it with individual people if they are not part of the artificial control system. You have to be able to distinguish who's who. This is what and that's the name of the game. Lucy has always wanted to confuse human beings as to who is who, and to basically follow, as they say, follow the script of what they want you to do. They always want you to lose out and never connect with your own kind. Plane is going over as I said that. Never connect with your own kind, never form a real normal, what you could call a love connection. It doesn't have to be love at its highest. It could even just be friendly with someone that is real, that isn't part of the matrix. When I say part of the matrix, basically anyone that is part of this system that's around me, part of daily and using technology to communicate, where they know they are part of the bigger picture, or the army controllers that are basically probably mind control themselves. And like I say, many don't mind being mind controlled if they profit from it. I've mentioned this before, and I don't understand this, but I've heard of it, and it offers me an explanation as to why you could have what appear to be normal people basically patrolling and trying to limit another human being's life, like myself, that they don't even really know. But of course, as I've said before, they don't know you, but if they're watching you all the time, they've formed a bond, even though you don't know them. It's a bond that they form so that they have a reason to release their negative traits and their anger onto you. It makes them feel happy to be aggressive and to have a target for that aggressiveness. And they make up, like these people around, they make up their own fantasies and their own reasons because they're psychotic. They make up their own explanations that justifies, being aggressive and covertly negative towards someone that they really don't know, and really basically just wants to leave them alone. And that's my case, but I understand it because I see it happening, because when you interact even with someone close and you see that their reactions to you are not in the present moment, you see that they're living in some sort of past state, or that they're reacting to what you're saying in a negative manner, when there's no reason for them to be angry or to want to hit out at you. And that's because they're having an internal dialogue with themselves from the past. They're not accepting you in the moment. I've dealt with this over the last number of years, personally. And, even at an acquaintance level, you realise that you're not really communicating with someone properly at all. They're not living in the moment. So therefore, they're not seeing you or, as you really are in the moment. In other words, they're living in the past and they're not dealing with you, trying to rectify the past in the moment. If that's like a personal relationship, say it was like someone you'd known or, a relative or something for a lifetime. And I suppose that's a choice. But it's not a good choice for anyone, really. How could it be? I mean, surely while you're in your short life on the earth, to rectify past relationships or past hurts is a benefit to you, not just to the other person. It benefits you as much as them. You might think not, but it does, because you then can be proud of who you really are. You know that you don't have to compete with the world. You don't have to compete with the Android AI machines that are around you. You don't have to compete with even the people around you that may or may not be real. When I say real, they may not be your own kind. Most of them won't be if you're living in my area anyway. I can't speak for every place, but then again, I am in, a totally, what I said yesterday and what was even told to me a few years ago, but I got it, but I still didn't get it, that I'm in an anti-life Truman Show, because, in other words, you're in a controlled area where they're trying to control you. See, if I was more like Mr. Truman in the Truman Show, where, I didn't understand that I was in a show, that I was being controlled. And that was the same with Truman. Once you realise that you're being controlled and that you're actually being restricted, that you're almost like in a prison. And this earth is a prison control matrix. And this was said to me on many ones, even on the computer, where they will say this is a prison earth. And it is, and I accepted that when they showed me this by coming out in the open and down on me 6 years ago. It was like I was in a Truman Show prison area, because it's like the show covers an area where they converge around you and they set up, like in the Truman Show, all the streets and everything designed to get you every day. In my case, it's a negative Truman Show, because in the real Truman Show on the TV, he was like covertly, like a lot of humans are not aware that they're being controlled and watched and tracked, and provided they don't step out of line, in other words, or provided they don't become aware that they're being controlled, or aware of the types of artificial androids around them, or even just like in my case, the psychopathic nature of most people, which is the same thing or very so similar. Because if you're dealing with an artificially intelligent, advanced android human, or even a human being that has turned very you know, psycho in their mind, to where they don't see anything around them as real life. It's a similar mindset. So once you realise that, as I did before they exposed and came down on me, you see, that was my realisation. I didn't realise that everyone was controlling me, no. I thought that for some reason over time, due to bad upbringing, and I was part of that most human beings, due to isolation in childhood and bad upbringing, had turned into psychopaths or psychopathically narcissistic in their personality, and that it controlled them basically. Because if your whole personality is basically sees other human beings as something to be defended against and to control, because you think they're going to harm you, because you have a paranoid, psychopathic, narcissistic personality that's developed because of bad upbringing and traumas in childhood or circumstances in childhood that you just haven't accepted. You either know they've happened, but you haven't tried to understand that they are not a reflection on you, that they're basically that everyone has been set up to be destructive to one another, because the Luciferian God entity and its disciples and relatives have been doing that to human beings since the beginning of the earth. That was their intention. They, due to their own and this God's own sense of also feeling or being made to feel inferior or rejected by the emergence or the coming into being of real natural life, because that's connected to, the Creator. And that's how it all stems, you see. So that being then sensed inferiority and felt that it was being, taken over, that his position was being taken from it, that it was no longer important or special, and that because, it'd be a bit like, I've said this before, it would be a bit like, having, as they say, if something is of your own kind or of your own flesh and blood or the same as you, it's automatically going to be closer to you than something that is separate and created, no matter how much you like that or, idolise that before. But of course that's the complex, but what is that plane going over at this time of nightfall? Those planes, why are they going over so late? That's to distract me, I guess, because it is, and even I operate on a certain amount of delusion, in the sense that, I could show examples. Well, I am showing examples, aren't I? Because if I'm showing that, that, I'm showing photos. So it gives the impression, a false idea, that I, in my past, had, like, that I had done, that I had, that I had a family, and that I, was part of that family, and that I, lived like, that I had a family, and that I was part of that family, and that I, did what I was meant to do according to what happened. Because nothing really happens accidentally. We think, and this has been said to me by those that are more advanced than me, even low, of course, most of them will be demigods that are part of the matrix. But don't forget, they know what they're doing with human beings. They know the game, they know the setup that they're setting up for each person from the day you're born. So they know that, that they're setting you up, hoping for you to renege on the job, as they say. But also knowing that you won't know that everything is not an accident. That if you have a child, it's no accident. It was destined. It was brought into being by something much higher than yourself. It's going to rain, and it's very cloudy, so you can't see the planes. But they're if they weren't like literally satanic military planes, being sent over just at specific times, by AI, artificially advanced intelligent pilots, you could say. But of course, some people, and this is much more likely in a way to explain the precision and the detail and the split-second timing of what happens around me, that human beings are in a mind control simulation of some sort, where, your mind is being totally manipulated by everyone and everything around you, visually, by all your senses are being manipulated totally. This, to me, even though, of course, it appears so real because of the senses, I can't grasp that. But the actual precision that I see every day does account for it. But I still think, it probably doesn't matter, because until you, if you're at a low understanding level like me, in other words, if you're on the other side of the curtain, as they say, or if you were like manipulating this earth, even at a higher level like the powers that be, much less the God entity, which would be almost like observing the Earth or the Matrix, but it's the same thing because it's a controlled Earth. Matrix simply means that everything is watched and staged and set up. That's why I say no one or nothing is an accident. So if you think that you're unwanted when you come into the world and you feel unwanted and unworthy most of your life because your circumstances of being brought into the world were not favourable, as from what I can see, very few people's circumstances are very favourable. You might look at other people's families and lives and think that it's favourable, but that's only because you're only seeing the surface. But also that is designed to make you feel inferior because you're not inferior. You are special. And the Matrix and the God entity wants to make real life human beings not know how special they really are, no matter what your circumstances, no matter what your position in life. I've said this before, in the Earth it's a reverse world, and this was something that I realised when they targeted me. It's a reverse world. So they want human beings to feel like they're the least and down the bottom, and everyone else looks as though they're doing better. That is the game. That is to trick your mind so that you don't accept that if you're a real human being, you are much more important than those that are controlling you or those that appear to have more than you. Even more important than the demigods in a way, because they are merely there to make you feel less. And we do. Because you can't help but look round and think that others are doing better. And if you look at the internet or the computer or any screen, the whole purpose of bringing the screen and the visuals in was to, yes, give you more communication with the rest of the earth. But that also means that you become aware that there are other people that are doing things that you can't do. They're being rewarded for things that they don't really even do. Their accomplishments are not as great or not as important from the real creator standpoint as you. You as a human being are put in this reality to play in this matrix game against your will, and not knowing what's really going on, that everything is centered around you, even though it looks as though you're insignificant and the demigods and all the people around you appear to be doing better. That's the whole purpose of this Earth Matrix, and the plane just went over as I said that. Why are those planes still going at this late time of night? But either way, before I run out of space on the mobile, I'm just going to show my old memories or my old photos. This is just for myself, because I may lose the photos because they're only on this stick, and I don't know how it even operates because I didn't set any of this up, because I'm technologically incompetent, or I can't think of the word, but derelict or something. That's right, derelict, is that the right word? In other words, I don't really have much of a clue. I only know how to do basic things, but I'm just going to show these photos, and it just occurred to me out of the blue to do this a few days ago. I have meant to before, but because this is all I have is a few photos, and this all these photos here, every photo that I'm going to show you on this what was on an old camera that my relative gave me when they came and stayed with me for a few years. Sadly, they gave me an old camera that was broken. Eventually it broke down, but during the time that, I think it was like the first year or year and a half, I took these photos occasionally when I went walkabout around here. That was before the Matrix completely closed in on me and restricted and made my walkabout uncomfortable. The plane is going over as I say that. There is a plane. See, I'm just going to show you that these planes are real, that they're coming over as I say things. Have a look. I shouldn't be doing this, I know, but look, there it goes. Small one. that's but, just showing that late of a night these planes are going over the roof, and they shouldn't be. But that's because I'm in here on my own and it's quiet, and it's the only way they can make their presence felt. You know, unless I go outside. Now this is, but see, they distracted me from this. Now these photos were all taken 10 years ago now, but probably like 9 in the sense that they were taken over a year or a year and a half before the camera finally just broke down and I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't take it out every day with me, only when I went or saw something that I wanted to take, if I went, like, say, where there was a bit of water around here, because that was why they came down on me, because before, even though I had lived here for 20 years before that, I'd never really I had kept to the script. I used to be like Truman. I would walk the same few streets, go to the same shops. I didn't even venture like within a mile or 2 radius of my actual house where there was water quite a bit around me, because they know that I like water, but I had not even seen it. And but when the relative came, they showed me there was water around, and because there was a lot of difficulties in a strange relationship where you haven't connected and haven't been correctly connected to that person as you should have been over a lifetime. So then when you decide to move in and try to reconcile, or you know, try to have a connection that you haven't had, because you've been isolated and both have been isolated and been used to being independent or even on their own, and trying to turn the past into the present but make it right somehow. I was still faulty and not adapting well enough to it. Not even, you know, my own mental problems hindered me, and not realising the other person also was living in the past, not really wanting that relationship, even saying, look, that's past, you know, you could reside with someone, you could share things with them, but, you know, can't change the past. The attitude is, can't change the past, can't really make a real genuine relationship now, it's too late. And that, but either way, that's what happened, and that's what still happens even 10 years later. And that's just because, you know, we're all living in the past. We don't believe that that's the God of this world doesn't want human beings to realise that you can change the past in the blink of an eye, just in the moment. You can say, I know that all these circumstances were not the true feelings of things, and that all of this was set up, that we're meant to be playing this game, but we're meant to figure it out, we're meant to play it better, we're meant to resolve the past in the present, so that we beat the matrix and realise that how important you really are. Not how falsely important you are, like from a matrix standpoint, where you think you have to compare yourself with the demigods and everyone and everything else around. Why would you want to compare yourself with an artificially intelligent, controlling android being, which is what is most around you? Or even with some of your own kind that are really the equivalent of that, because once, we allow ourselves to become too narcissistic, like the God entity, where it's all about, because you don't realise that, it's very hard to explain, even I lose track of it, but essentially, even just a little real connection with your own kind or with real life, if you can just forgive and forget and realise that that was what this God has been tricking you, not wanting you to go back to your Creator, not wanting you to connect with your own kind, so that you reach all your real possibilities and feel good in yourself, to where you laugh at the demigods, you laugh at everyone around you, not pretending that you're better than everyone else, but secretly feeling envious, like the God entity of this world that basically, lives in the delusion, even though it is real, because this God does control the reality. It's allowed to control. Lucifer's, even though it's turned into the dark, has been allowed to control this reality since the beginning, because it's a natural, free creation world. Human beings, because they are important, are given free choice. Lucifer, on the other hand, doesn't want human beings to have free choice at all. He knows that they do, and that they come from creation, and that its reality is the opposite, and that it also was not from original natural creation. And this is the complex and the inferiority that this God has wanted to put onto real life human beings, knowing that it's a reverse world and that it's really the opposite to that. I don't know if I explained that properly. I probably didn't. But I'm just going to show some of these photos for no reason, but they were taken 10 years ago on the old broken camera, where these were taken inside this house, the wonderful Simba dog that endured a lot of hardship, more than what most animals or life should. But that, I only hope and pray that that also was somehow meant to be. This dog was, in fact, the two animals and any animal that I've encountered has, like most human beings, been subjected to a lot of trauma and showed great courage and perseverance and tolerance of the matrix circumstances, and even myself, my own inadequacies and inability to care or protect most animals. I have to say that. And allowing myself to be angered and upset and controlled by the ones around me, and the set-up Truman Show Matrix controlling area, military control basing area where I live. Hope I'm putting the words right. It's hard, but you never ever, I know there are other animals that probably also in this earth have been subjected to difficult circumstances and have had to surmount so many difficulties. But the wonderful old Simba dog, even I didn't realise as it was happening, was almost oblivious to the courage of these two animals, but especially it's almost as though some of the animals are like the humans, where they have to deal with very difficult circumstances, and they have to physically be able to overcome so many obstacles. Originally, the Simba dog's only main obstacle was getting over the huge back fence to get down to the park to try to find a few of its own kind to play with and frolic with. But as life went on, those difficulties became much greater than that. But even that was like physically almost impossible, and yet this dog, you know, I was told, and I know it's true, was able to jump a fence that no dog should have been able to get over, but his willpower, a stronger spirit than what I could ever imagine. And the spirit of some of the animals is a lot greater than ours. And they show us this, and yet we don't appreciate or understand it at the time until they've gone. Because in the moment, we're deprived the moment. I felt as though I was deprived the joy of the moment of these blessed, magnificent, wonderful animals that I took for granted, being allowed to be in their presence even. Unlike those around where everyone in Leichhardt walks a dog, almost everyone. But they're not in the moment either, and they try to take your moment from you so that you can't be a real human, because they know that they are false android beings, psychopathic in nature, that don't enjoy really walking their dogs. Their dogs are merely handbags for them to elicit energy from other human beings and to control the reality. Because if you look more human than a human, the humans are going to befriend and keep company with you and miss out or not see the real human that may or may not be walking a dog. Because if they mimic and imitate you better than what you can, because don't forget, they control and try to make your life negative. That's why you're in a military base area where they're bringing your mood down, bringing your body down daily, so that if you go outside on the street and they're out there walking the dog, smiling and pretending to be the most enlightened, life-giving, real-life human, and you're depressed and you're living in fear because you know everyone is stalking and patrolling and harassing you, and you've been bombarded with negative noise and negative situations every day, year after year, you're not going out there bubbling. You have to almost fake it. So what I'm saying is that they've got the upper hand. This is what I observe every day. Because if I wasn't in a matrix and my body wasn't suppressed and I wasn't, but either way, I've gone off the track there. Let me just try to show some of these pictures, because it's just a record of what happened 10 years ago for a year. Unfortunately, the flash was on these pictures, so that means the animals will have the glowing eyes, which some people might say is significant. I certainly have seen possession in people and in animals, for sure I have. But I wonder now, it's very hard when you look at people to accept that they may or may not be what you think, and animals also. Some that are more advanced than me probably understand the reality and even the possession or even the artificial nature of a lot of life that's around. I see it by the actions and by the destructive, controlling, stalking nature of them. But it's still very hard for me to fully accept it. I accept it, I know it for a fact, I feel it, I experience it, I'm destroyed by it. But understanding it is still almost beyond my comprehension, because I don't want to have to. Of course, what you don't want, you see, that's like when you don't accept that things have changed. That's like the artificial or even a psychopathic nature where you become psychotic, where you don't accept that the present is not the past, that maybe you should deal with people as they are in the present, not thinking that you should hold the past as something that has to control your whole life. That's like the artificial ones, or the ones that are around me, where if they take offence or they think they've wronged you in some way, they basically hold a grudge about that for a lifetime. Every time they think of you or see you, they want to level the score. They think you've done something terrible to them. Of course, you could just not give them the right smile, and that will be taken as though you have, exposed them somehow, which is the same as like trying to literally, their reactions, or in other words, are overreactions. They're over the top. They see the slightest slight, or how you slight them, even though you're just talking to them like a real human being. You could love someone and fight with them and have disputes with them and care about that person more than anything. Well, they don't understand that. Their mentality is about control. You're not a human being. You don't have communication or a real relationship with them. They're like, you are a sidekick to them. You, as they say with the psychopath, you're an extension of them. So they don't see you as a person. So therefore, if you disagree with them in even the slightest way, they don't see that as a healthy communication. Or like, I actually would say that if you're getting on with someone well, you would actually enjoy the differences and enjoy a healthy dispute. They don't see it that way. They're like, it's all about 100% control, and therefore you have to be them. You have to agree with everything with them, while they basically steal everything from you and take it for themselves. They copy and mimic and imitate you, and then they will put you down and strip you of those qualities, make you angry and depressed, to where you were once a happy, sweet person, and they turn into the happy, fake, sweet person, so they get all the attention and all the influence, and people follow them, while you get brought down to being depressed and pathetical. That's it. That's if you're lucky, if you're not completely annihilated. If you're not completely annihilated. All these animals have gone. They've all gone. All these animals have passed on. These pictures all took place about 10 years ago now. But also I'm just going to show some of the photos that I took around, because they are memories for me now, and it was interesting that I saw something kind of pleasant in just some of the scenery around, and that I wanted to take the photos. In fact, I was upset when the camera broke down. I didn't take the camera with me every day. Most of these photos were taken like oh, wait on. I've made a mess of that, haven't I? Most of these photos were taken, like when I did have the camera, if I took it with me out one day and I went near the water not far from here, I would probably take, say, as many photos that the camera would allow for me to take on that day before the camera stopped taking photos. So they're probably like, say, 30 photos each time or something like that. Maybe more. I'll try to show it because that's why there's only 1 or 2 good photos. As you can see, there was repetitive taking of the photos. But these were taken inside this house, right here. These ones of the Simba dog. These were taken inside this very house when the dog and, you know, when my son, and he brought his dog with him when he came to live with me 10 years ago. And I should have the light on because I can't see what I'm doing, and I'm losing time here too because there's I can't show that one because it's upside down, so I'll just get through them quickly. I don't know, and I think maybe my son was being creative there and changing some of the colours because I didn't do that. I didn't take these photos either, I don't think. I took some of them, but most of these, I took some of them, but a lot of them were taken by my son too with the animals, but I'm not sure which ones are which, you know, but it doesn't matter. I'd have to put them all up, but it will take hours if I go through each one, as you can see, because there's a lot of photos. So I'm just going to try to pick some of the ones that I might favour, even though I'm not sure which ones are the best. I remember plonking that hat just on to be funny, plonking, but you know, we had a lot of disputes. It's funny that what could be pleasant moments, just, it looks like pleasant moments with a lot of these photos, but it's strange because there was a lot of difficulties and a lot of, you know, a picture tells a story, but it doesn't always, because like I say, you could have photos from childhood, you could have family photos, you can have photos of animals, but it doesn't mean that the relationships are harmonious all the time, no. This is, you know, but it's still really nice to look back on them. It is. It is really nice to still look back on them. So that's why I think it's good to take the odd photo. And of course, these days you have the mobile, so you know, I don't take it with me, but gee, you could be taking so many videos and so many photos. Oh, only sorry that we didn't turn the flash off on the old camera to take those photos. See, these were not taken with mobiles or anything, because 10 years ago we weren't. Well, my son always had a mobile, but I only had this old bomby little pocket camera that I just, that all these photos were taken on. I do hope I'm filming those properly. Oh, I'm not, am I? I cannot do this properly. I keep losing the picture every time I click on it, so this is going to take hours and I'm not going to be able to. I just wanted to show all the photos that I took a year ago and just pick out a few, because there's too many to, as you can see, there's too many to show. I would like to show each one, but there isn't time for that. So I'll just try. I haven't looked at these photos for quite a bit, in fact. And I was asked, I had to beg to get these photos all put onto the stick for me to even look at them. These were taken, these ones here, all these photos here, these ones all here, were taken one day when I walked a bit further than what I normally did, because I had a bit of health 10 years ago and physically had stamina, and walked a bit further than usual around here to where there was water. And just one morning, it was very early in the morning, and I just happened to have that camera in my bag, and the sunset was so spectacular I couldn't help but stay there for about 2 hours taking all these photos, because the sun, it was so spectacular that I couldn't believe it, and I thought I felt like a great photographer almost, because I thought I'm going to get these pictures of this sun, because it was just so blindingly glary. I don't know why it happened, and it must have been spectacular too, because I saw a professional photographer actually come down onto the rocks and set up a huge camera with a great big stand and took these same photos. I think that was an android being that saw me doing it. See, they read your thoughts, they watch your mind, they watch you, and copied and got better photos than me and took all these photos. I remember thinking that at the time. I thought, isn't that funny that this same person just has popped up with all this professional great big camera and stand and took these same photos. But it doesn't matter. That just shows you that even then they were watching, waiting. You know, that I was in this military Luciferian controlled area where everyone and everything was watching. I had no idea, but I did notice that. But then they went away very quick too, and I stayed and took even more because the sun kept coming up at the pictures, and I knew that it was a one-off, you know. But I took these photos. But anyway, I'll just show them as they come up, because this is before the sun started, just when it started to come, I think. See if I can get it here. I'll just try and show it, and I'll also show you something else which people may or may not realise. See, all these photos were all taken in the one day. As you can see, I just kept taking them, and I would have even took more, but eventually it ran out. But some of them are blurry when they start. I only got a few that were really good. I used to take just as many as what I could of in one day, or when I say one day, maybe say over a half an hour or an hour. And see, there was even a few seagulls down there. I actually ventured down onto the sand, which I was actually a bit reluctant to do because I wasn't used to it and I didn't know, but I did because I was so determined to get the pictures of this sun as it was coming. See, these are all a bit blurry, but they're going to gradually get better. More seagulls there, see. I don't know if this is coming out because I don't know where to stand to get the clearest pictures off the TV screen. See, the sun is starting to come up, and I think I was trying to zoom in a bit. Here it comes. Here's the sun ones. This was taken one morning down. See how there's all the sun there? See how the sun is just breaking through this cloud, and there's all these boats around just near this water area. But I'm just going to try. Oh, I can't do it. Hold on. These were all taken. I can't get it. Oh, here it is. It's coming up. See how the sun, see how this spectacular, it won't show up, but I'll tell you what, when you saw it with the naked eye, it was very spectacular. And it only happened that one morning. Haven't seen it since. Not that I go down this spot. Haven't been down this spot for years. In fact, I only went here a few times even back then, because it was a bit of a longer walk round. But that particular morning, I'm just going to show this if I can. See these photos here? This is something interesting too. These photos have been taken away. I don't know why that is. I think they might have been the better pictures. Someone might have took them. But you see how there's blank? They should be filled in with all these photos, because that was just when the sun was coming through, and it was quite spectacular. It was all like gold. Yeah, see how it's like It's all like gold, and I'll try to show a few photos to show that it was all like as though the sun made everything gold. And see how it's breaking through all these clouds, and I had to go down, just down onto the, almost to the water's edge. I remember it. Well, I don't really remember it in a way. Like I say, in a way, it's funny, photos try to bring back a memory. Because when you're doing it, because it was actually difficult and I was focused only on trying to get the pictures. But let's try to show. I'll just pick a few because the photos may or may not, but I don't even know why I'm showing these. I was going to show the animals, but seeing they're here for some reason, see how, you know, it was really just, the sun just became huge and golden, and it was hope I'm showing it. I hope it's coming out clear too, because I don't know, you need to, this mobile is not real clear. You need to get the right position to get it sharp, but I don't know what position it is. At any rate, oh, okay, this is how you do it. I haven't done this for so long, I've got it bungled up. This is how you do it. You do it down the bottom like that. Wait on, is that how you do it? Yeah, I think so. I might just show that one too. Just show that one. You know, I've forgotten all of this now. I don't think I'm framing this very well. I can't see too well here. See, and I've got my hand out covering the front of the mobile. I didn't realise there's black. They got the black on the side. I should be framing it well. Oh, it always frustrates me that I can't frame these things well, because if I'm using the TV, that's mainly, I almost have more interest in doing that than anything else, which is kind of funny. You know, but okay, so I'm just gonna not bother with it. They're ones that were taken where I took it with the camera upright, so they won't, even though they're actually quite good, I can't put them upright. I don't know how to do that, so I'll just have to leave that, you know. Just have to leave that, you know. They're actually, I'm losing patience here. But I took these all in the space of an hour or two one morning, all these photos. Just one morning about 9 years ago now, nearly 10, until the sun completely come right up, and therefore all in the same spot, even though it might look a bit different. I might have walked just a tiny bit along the water's edge there. All of them, see all these? Every one of them. And I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna forget about that now and go past these ones, if I can. It's the best I can do here. So many. It gradually the orange or yellow kind of you know how it's glowed all over the picture, that disappeared to where it went like eventually like that, just to where even the sun was still huge though, like it was actually really big. You know, like see how it's a huge big ball on the horizon that day. It was like huge. I don't understand that. Some people say the sun's changed, and that's interesting that those photos do show something, something, don't they? That was not a good one. I should have picked better there. But this was all in the space of an hour or two one morning, very early in the morning as the sun come up. But see how big it is? Eventually it just went completely clear and white like normal. And yes, then I might have took a few seagulls that were on the ground. Always like the birds. These other photos now that are coming round, they were a different day, might have even been many months later. I'm just going to show this one because I like it. If I can show it, if I can get a good image up. Wait on. I can't do this. Now I went back for some reason. They're mucking with the videos here. Hold on. Mucking with the videos here. What is this? I don't know why I'm showing this. I'll have to... I must have... see there too. The reason I took that photo, I couldn't believe it. See, there's a black... See, that's a black pigeon. And they're two white pigeons. I had never ever in my life seen two white pigeons ever before. And I was told very recently on a video that white pigeons are really just white doves, and I never knew that. I see a million pigeons most days, well not a million, but pigeon, and they're always the grey type, you know, different varieties of the grey, but there's a totally black one and two white ones down on this little beach. Not really a beach, it wasn't a beach, you couldn't swim in it. The water's actually polluted and murky and covered in all sorts of stuff. I know because I ventured right down to have a look. See, the water's just there actually. It's only like a little sandy spot, but they are actually two white doves, but they're really just white pigeons. And I knew that, and I thought, I've never seen two white pigeons, because I saw that, and that's why I took the photo. And I remember in this particular spot, which I did go there a little bit about 10 years ago to escape the problems that I was dealing with locally, shall we say, even then. And, you know, because I actually never liked to leave the house quite as much or to go much around. But sometimes it's a bit like if you've got problems where you are, you tend to then, you know, almost forced to, but at least I took a few photos. I'll say that. See how good always comes to things. That's why I say, Patrick, you should always look at sometimes that things are better than what you think. You know, that I'm only sorry I didn't take more pictures of those birds, but maybe I ran out of... actually, I think I did. I think I actually did. But they must have took some of the water or something, and then, wait on. Not getting this right. I'll see if I can just show this, and then I've got to get further along. There's a lot of photos here, and like I say, even low, yeah. See, I can't believe that is a white pigeon. But as I was told very recently, long after I took these photos, only recently, that white doves are really just white pigeons. There's no difference, and I never knew that. That just goes to show you that you can find out something I think that's interesting anyway, because we always think of white doves as a symbol of peace, don't we? We're told that. The white dove, they're really just average, mundane, ordinary pigeons, just as we're mundane, ordinary, really special human beings, but no, none of us know it. Because you see pigeons everywhere and you don't think that they're white doves. And I have to admit those two that were taken 10 years ago, in all that 10 years, even though I even have pigeons outside my door, I have not seen the white dove or the white pigeon, even over that 10-year span. This day when I took those few that were just down on that little sandy spot, which is not that far from here, but I haven't been there for pretty much since I took these photos, actually, which is like 10 years ago, even though, like I say, they're not that far, it's not that far away, but and I don't know why I'm showing them, but see, there they are, and there's its mate, which is like black. There's only 3 of them, but see, its mate is black with just a few white feathers. So you just show, that's like a regular pigeon that's almost like, not black, but black kind of, and just with a few white feathers, and its mate's totally white, see? But actually there's 3 of them there, but there's 2 white ones, and that shows you that just through, you know, how they multiply, that sometimes happens. As you know, you will often see even regular pigeons around, quite a lot of them with just the odd white feather, but you rarely see them as a white dove, because that's really what they are. Isn't that, you know, I'm getting very hot and exhausted here, so I better keep going very quick because I'm, yeah. And I'm just picking these photos randomly almost, but look, that was 10 years ago when the Simba dog came to live with me. Quite early on there, judging by I can tell by the dog, but because he went white, completely grey in the face, but also I can tell by the background beds and the clothing and stuff, and even the ball. He was still chasing and playing with his ball there in the background at that time. His eyesight deteriorated greatly to where in the last couple of years he could no longer retrieve his ball, even though he was the best ball retrieving dog in Australia, without a doubt. But that little hat, that was just me, you know, trying to make light of situations at the time. Not always successful, but the photos are cute, aren't they, to look at now? So that's why I say, even if sometimes at least you can like fantasize even about the past and make it more pleasant, and maybe if you bring that into the present, maybe that's a good thing, if we can do that, you know. Not all these photos were even taken by me, but most of them were. But I think I think my son tried to be more arty with some of these photos when they were taken, in the sense that which shows that human beings can be creative. That's right, if you put your mind to it, and it doesn't matter. See, the problem is that you shouldn't, and I've been told this, and I know it's true now. that you should only try to compare with yourself. Don't worry if you don't make a success, because that's exactly what the Matrix wants you to do, where you don't think that, like, my son took this photo, and that was when he got this new bed. It didn't last long, it got wrecked straight away, but we were so proud when we bought that new bed at that time, because it looked so nice, and it was so clean, but it was wrecked, and it was so comfortable. And it was a moment, see, but the Matrix always takes you moments. They even encourage the animals to be destructive, because they want to keep the human vibration and frequency down. That's the name of the game. Even that bed, which we thought was so good because we went and got it and paid more than what we probably even should have, and then it was destroyed soon after. All this is planned and nothing is an accident. It's all to keep human beings suppressed. It's a lovely dog. You know, like, when I say lovely, I mean, like, I'm a bit of a cat person myself, you know, but I still see that dogs can be so much, in some respects. This is why the Matrix ones like them too. They can be a lot more loyal even than cats. Cats are more like human beings. They're independent. If they like you, they are loyal, but they won't always, but they're not like, you know, it's a different behaviour type of thing. But, you know, this is, you know, it's not a good mindset to think that love is all about control, because it shouldn't be. And if someone likes you, you don't need to control them, because you already have them. This is something that if you are like more controlled by the Matrix, you will not realise that. Oh, I'm sure I'm not framing or getting these things right. I can't even see what I'm filming because my hand's over it. That's frustrating me, because I know it doesn't matter, but if it's like if you're putting some pictures in a photo album, you don't want them all to be crooked, do you? And they all are. That was where you know, you see, my son decided was changing the colours there, trying to be arty, and it is too, but I can't keep it up. They don't want me to show how arty he is, because they only want the artificial ones to surpass, you know, the human beings, you know. Oh, Simba's being a bit naughty there, as you can see. Doing the little one-eyed winking there. But that was yeah, a little bit changing the colour there, which is interesting. See how Patrick must have done that. But oh, it's very hard. I'm at great loss. I feel as though I've lost everything. This was where I bungled up. One day I decided, I actually asked my son, how do you take, because the lights were coming from the bridge where I used to walk past, and I thought I'll take the camera, but I need to get like to where you put it and you press a different button to get some sort of time lapse so that you can get the lights really good. But unfortunately, I'll show that I completely bungled it up here, because as you can see, that's what I got. I just got a mess, whereas it was really lights reflecting in the water off the bridge. Um, mm, uh, See how it didn't turn out at all. I just got all these squiggly lines everywhere, a big mess, and I took many. Because they actually, to the naked eye, it looked really pretty because the lights were reflecting off the bridge, but instead this is all I got was... So my adventure into... didn't quite work out, shall we say. No, but... So all those photos, one after the other, turned out no good. As you can see, they're just all lines everywhere. I didn't try again because I knew that I got it wrong and I didn't persevere. Maybe I should have. But these pictures definitely... wait on. I might be running out of space, so I can't show them all. That was where Simba survived a very big operation. That's Patrick being arty there with all the colours, and very interesting too. I'm sure that some professional photographers probably copied that, and yet, like I say, the human being is never allowed to shine in this reality. Even my son wouldn't realise that. There's the cat. Oh dear. Oh. Oh. Got the glowing eyes, see, because of the flash, so I might just go and show some where there isn't the flash. I'll see if I can find one or two just of the dear cat. The cat lived a little bit longer than Simba, but then again, cats do, and Simba was quite old. And I can't speak on that. See, there were all those pictures got messed up because of the thing, but it doesn't matter. Just keep going. Oh, I'm not going to talk. It's a cat. They say that animals can help you to keep going. Unfortunately, if you're in the Matrix, they use the animals against you so that you know that you do realise that and you want them, but instead, you know, they will use and they want you to look like the worst animal owner. That's part of their game. Part of their game. Because their envy of human beings overrides any sort of normalcy, or, you know, the sort of things that you would think that a normal human being has certain traits, but they don't have those at all. Everything is just about putting you down and competing with you and destroying relationships that you have with other people, but even with your animals. It's a very negative mindset, and this is the reality of the people around. Particularly, the closer they are to you, the worse they will be, because they're close to you, they observe you more, and therefore they get their competitive anti-life nature going even more. you know, and they can't control it. They're like the scorpion and the frog. But that was my friend, but I wasn't a good friend to my best friend. I tried, but I wasn't able to get on top of the local matrix, this machine military control base area with its neighbours and artificial people that operate for it, and everyone that's in the vicinity, from your workmen to your bus drivers, even to the artificially intelligent pilots that drive the military planes that go over the roof and follow you around, just as the stalking android people, artificial and negative in nature, follow you around, pretending to be normal civilian plainclothes people when they're really you know, military operatives or military workers, workforce for the military, whatever. It doesn't matter what names I put on these, it doesn't matter what group they are, it doesn't matter what their beliefs are, it doesn't matter what God they work for or follow or believe in. It will depend on their awareness or their position or their status, shall we say, in, you know, the local community around me. It could well be that I'm in the least awareness, even though I'm speaking about it, in the sense that if they're all part of that system and they're all collaboratively stalking and patrolling and watching and observing and suppressing and monitoring and obviously tracking, you know, at a technical level, using technology in this area, 100%. But like I say, it depends on how advanced the technology is. If I'm kind of just playing myself in my own mind, in the sense that the technology, in other words, like some people talk about simulations, which is beyond my comprehension. But it feels like that in a way because it's so finely tuned, because everything is so controlled, everything is a split second. And if it wasn't like, you know, like 1 o'clock in the morning, when it's probably after that now, probably about 2 o'clock in the morning now, dead of night, inside my house, where even though occasionally they have actually done midnight kind of work down the end of the street to distract me, but they can't do that every night of the week, you know. But either way, I've diverged here. Let me get back to my photos. This is really just my old memories of 10 years ago and just the past, and just trying to pretend that I did better and that circumstances were better than what they actually were. Trying to pretend that I once had a family, that I once even knew some animals. That's outside my front door there, that photo was taken. I think my son took that photo, and I have to say, it's a lovely photo. It's better than any I took. I really like it. It made me realise what a lovely cat I had too, because I always used to see this cat mainly of a night time, so I never really realised what a dear thing he was, even, you know, was the opposite to the Simba dog, who was so physical and full of life, and so almost like, you know, an athlete in every single way. I'm only sorry I can't see if I'm framing this correct. I'm doing, but I can't see. That's my only difficulty here. I'm just no good at filming these things, or keeping the camera still too, for that matter, because I'm holding it, you know. It's sorry for myself that I can't do a bit better here. And my arm is aching too, so it is difficult, but I'm, you know, it's almost haunting me, I have to say. Oh dear. See, there's the empty bowls there. Can you see the empty bowls that are still there, even though he left past, you know, like, oh, it's it's quite a while now. This is March, so almost be. It's almost getting to be a year now. The black cat was in the background there. He no longer lives around here. They moved away. Not quite sure what happened there, but you know, because everything is matrix control, so even I have to wonder. But those two cats come from the same owner in the same house, which was next door to next door in the little flats that I live. But this one came up every day and visited me, and eventually ended up, when they left, staying with me for that last month, which ended not well, but you know, it's just out the front there, outside my front door. And I'm not talking any more about possession or any of that stuff now, because I want to have a pleasant memory. I wanted to have a pleasant memory. That's almost like me deluding myself that everything was a lot sweeter and a lot nicer than what it really was. You know, moments in the present should be your best time, but even the photos don't always tell the true story. But I want to delude myself and live in that fantasy, as I have done in recent times, even with relationships. And even when you look back, you want to glamorize it, you want to make it seem a lot better than what it was. Because you can't deal with the truth. And that's it. You know, the truth is not always what really happened. I don't know if it's even getting, I don't know if these pictures are even coming out clear. I suppose I'll find out if I have a look later, but it's if I download it. But that was my intention. I only wanted to show the old photos just really as a record for myself, to be honest. That's really the bottom line. Just thought I'd put them on the computer because, you know, and these are just more of the animals, the dog. Let me see. I can't see them too well. I can't show those because they're the long ones, which means they're upside down. These are all about 10 years ago, I'm guessing. Not guessing, they have to be, because I only had the camera for about a year anyway before it completely packed it in. It was already a little bit faulty, but it was given to me just to play with and to take a few photos when I ventured out around the neighbourhood, you know, occasionally. And I took many here on another day down on the water, which is exactly where I tried to take the pictures where there's a bridge where the reflection was in the water. It's just the same spot, but it was early in the morning and the moon was still in the sky, and I always had a thing about the moon being in a picture, and it just happened that when I was down there, the moon was right in the middle of the sky still, even though the sun was coming up, and I just took photo after photo until I got the right one. And I did eventually get the right one. Where is the right one? Oh, wait on. I know I got the right one. I know there was one that I thought was the best one, where I could see the moon in the picture. Where is it? That's just where the water was coming in on the blinds. And that was just took because there was damage, which also is being done now too. And they won't come and fix anything. They want me to live in squalor and be distressed and paranoid and in fear, which I am. I really am at the moment too, very fearful. This was when the poor cat got an unknown injury, but he got over it though, but I actually did think that there was some deliberate action there and I couldn't do anything about it. But the dear thing healed himself up in no time. He was not a lot of trouble really. It was only in the end when they even turn a happy little fleeting, passing relationship into something negative. I didn't get those photos of the water. That one with the moon, I must have passed it. These are all other ones where the Simba dog used to be taken. All this has been demolished now, which is interesting. I took this, and all of this has been demolished there. So I'm going to show this photo because I remember it was a mural down near the water where they used to, where Patrick and me used to take the Simba dog. That's all been demolished now because they've built like everywhere you go around Leichhardt and the in this suburb, they just demolish everything and build something new. There's always major constructions, not just noisy around me, and they demolished all this. This mural is no longer there. It was very interesting actually, and I took the photo on the other side of the road, but I should have went up and showed it in detail. And would I have known that it was going to be all destroyed? No. Strangely enough, I didn't, but it's all gone now. So, sorry I didn't take more photos and more details. But I just thought it was because it was all along the road there. You know, the little water spot, which is unswimmable, but the dogs will go in, just there. Oh, it's not far from where I live at all. It's almost like only a few blocks, really. Long blocks, though. But it's not swimming water. It's very murky, but the dogs all do go in, just in a little tiny spot, just on the other side of the road. And I took this was like 10 years ago, when the dog was still here, but also losing his faculties, but still going in the water. That's why I say the animals have more strength than what we do. They keep going no matter what, and they surmount obstacles. As Patrick often says, be like the dog. Well, you know, human beings are more complicated than the animals, so we're not able to see things clearly and just plod on and try to daily take life as it comes and try to enjoy it as best you can. No, we're not like that at all. Oh, sorry, I've lost all over the place there. Can't just see what else is here. I just show that because it's all gone now. Yeah, all been demolished though. In fact, quite a few things have been demolished. I'll show you something else that's been demolished too. Oh, I pressed that accidentally, but that was the dear Simba dog walking back from the vet, which unfortunately let the cat die. You know, but that's the way it goes, because they didn't have the inclination or the know-how to keep him going. Probably part of the matrix, so they decide when life comes and goes, I guess. But in the case of Simba, because it suits the matrix for the dog to go on longer, that was the dog walking back from the vet the next day after removing a soccer ball out of the inside of him. They actually said they'd never seen such a big growth, and he's just walking back home, back to this place where he lived at the time, with his owner on the end of the lead, walking him back. See the perseverance after a major operation. Like, you can't see it there, but you know, they said that the growth inside, and of course they actually said that he would not live past 2 weeks before they said that. That was to think that the dog was going to die, so you're stressed out, and then, you know, had the operation and basically saved the dog, because they said, oh, if that was attached to any other organ except what was the spleen, I think it was, which is like an organ that doesn't matter, you don't need it, it's like you can live without it. And that dog did live without it, and survived quite a few years later, and was still, even though the faculties were going, the eyesight was, you know, the dog was almost blind even then. See how remarkable animal that was. And yet walking back from the vet a day after having you know, a growth inside and the spleen removed. The growth, they said, was the size of a soccer ball. That's what the veterinarian people said. But of course, you know, like I say, they are very any I'm trying to find the word, any medical authorities, any company, any little, in Leichhardt, every shop, everything is controlled by the matrix. And I know this for a fact when the cat, you know, was sick here, you know, and eventually, in desperation, I took it to the local vet. But I was aware too of that chance in doing that, because I was aware by this time, because this was only like less than a year ago, that it's all a military matrix area, completely controlled, and trying to keep my frequency and vibration as low as possible. So I was aware of that, but I got desperate because you know, the cat wouldn't eat, and I couldn't, we couldn't force him to eat to whatever was wrong. But when I went down to that vet, and even when I checked up, he was there for a few days before they, you know, I had bad vibes, but I was desperate and thought, because I thought he's going to, it's only a matter of time before he passes here, because can't get him to get his strength back, and you know, not eating. But when I went down there, you know, like he was only there for a few days before, you know, before they made the final call, sort of thing, even though it was against my wishes and my instructions. But, you know, but I went there, and all the staff had changed around. Like, there was no original vet there. I should have known, and they actually said that all the doctors were sick. You know, like, it was totally so staged, like more than normal. Like, most of the time they stage all these setups around here in this local area to where they're quite believable. But they didn't care, and basically they just changed the whole staff in the entire place when I visited there. My only regret is that I didn't just demand to go downstairs and grab the cat and bring him home, even though, yes, he would have just died peacefully here, I suppose. And even that I have doubts about now, I wonder. But great regret, but decisions, once again, choice, and they put you in those positions. And don't forget that the reason the cat was sick in the first place was because the cat had consumed something outside that made him sick. That's my opinion, my view, because the cat just got sick after there was stuff around. I didn't realise, but I should have, because everyone's part of this control matrix, and it's all staged, all set up, and all designed to extract negative energy from a real life human. That's how it works.